Today we're going to continue to talk about rock, paper, scissors, and we're going to talk about methods. Let's take a look at our rock, paper, scissors game that we have so far. It's a completely working game. Let's take a look at it. Rock, paper, scissors, choose your weapon. Computer is already chosen. Okay. 2. I'm going to pick paper. It's a draw, so they picked paper. I'm going to pick paper again. I win. So first, let's look at creating some methods. Now, let's take a look at what we currently have. So we have a class called rock, paper, scissors, and then we have one method that's marked as static, public static void main. This is our entry point into a console program. And these string arguments are what you could pass into the executable at the end. So say this is called rockpaperscissors.exe. You could do rockpaperscissors.exe and then pass in some arguments. And then we could actually look to see what are in these arguments to change how our program would run. But we don't really need to concern ourselves with this. In fact, we could just delete this if we wanted to. So what we're doing here is we're coming in and creating some variables. We created our win table to make it really easy for us to determine who won. Then we have our player score, computer score, our random generator, and then we have the main loop of the game. This is basically where we are playing the game and then using the win table to figure out what happened. So let's try to create some functions to replace some of this. Now, one of the great things about functions is it allows you to take duplicate code and put it into one place. Now, we don't really have any duplicate code here. So let's go ahead and create some functions either way. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to move some of these variables up into the class and out of this function. So let's do that. So let's take these guys and let's make them class level variables or fields. So we're going to make them static. And the reason why we're making them static is because this function exists in the static area of memory, or the area of memory that static stuff would live. So to be able to access this, we have to also make these static. Okay, so that's just because we're working with a console program. You mostly wouldn't make things static. So, but in this case, this is what we're going to do. All right. Now, even though we did this, this is still going to work. So let's go ahead and run it. And sure enough, it's... Oh, I lost, man. My luck. Scissors. Oh, it's a draw. Okay. Darn, I lost again. So, computer score 2, draws 1. I suck. Okay. So, of course, it still works. We're just moving these out into a different location. This is the basis of refactoring. So, let's take this win table. In fact, I've already got it ready. I rewrote it so that it could just be in one line, and let's put it in the class level. Make it a class level field. There we go. Awesome. And same thing with these, the player score. Let's make these guys static. And we can remove this. And our random as well. We can make this a field. Static random. There. All right. So this all should still work. Looks like it does. Yes, finally my luck is changing. Yo, I rock. It's a totally skill game. See what I mean? I'm just a master. The computer sucks. All right, great. We really don't need this anymore, but I'm just gonna move it up here because it's kind of telling us what these things mean in our table. And so, okay, so right now we just have these variables out here, and now we can start creating some functions. So let's start out by doing a greeting. So we're going to call it public static and void because we're not going to return anything from the function. And we're going to call this greeting. Functions or methods all have parentheses at the end because you can pass in variables into the parentheses. We're going to do this. So let's go ahead and just start copying some stuff over. So we're just going to do a console write line, and then we're going to replace that line there with greeting. So now when we play it, we still get our greeting, rock, paper, scissors, and everything looks the same as it did before. So this is just replacing this, so we could call this as many times as we want. So now we should have two greetings, obviously. Yep, two greetings. So this is one of the benefits of obviously putting code into methods and functions, is that you can reuse code and you don't have duplicate code. And one of the issues with duplicate code is that then if you have to make a change in it, then you have to find all the other places that code was to make the same change. And that makes things very complex. And as you know, complexity is the enemy. So, all right. So now for this, what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable, a function that's going to return a rand number. So let's do that. So we're going to call it public static void. Well, I'm sorry, not void. Int. We're going to return an int. And we're going to call this get computer choice. And then we will take this rand object and we will return rand object. So obviously another way you could do this is you could do like int my rand equals rand.next and then return my rand. Of course, you don't have to do that. It's just simpler just to return it because you're just creating a variable here. But one important thing is within these curly braces, this int only exists in here. So when you return it, it gets returned here, but it's getting, copied. So this thing will then go away. So, but let's just put it back the way that we had it before. Return. There. Then we can replace this with get computer choice. There. Now here you notice that we've got choose your weapon, the player score, and then here's the weapons of choice. So I'm not really sure why I did it this way. No big deal. But we will combine a couple of those. So play public static void. And we're going to call it print weapon choice. And we'll copy this. And we will copy this. Perfect. And then we'll just put that right here. Print weapon choice. All right, so next one is going to be static void display player scores. All right, let's run it where we're at and see if we get any errors. Nope, no errors. Oh, look at that. We did something funny. So we just have to change the way this works. And the issue is we have a write line here, and we want to be able to get the input here. So let's just, all we have to do is display player scores. Let's put that up above here. Yeah, that looks good. Then there we go. There's the player scores. Choose your weapon. Computer's already chosen. Oh, man. Rock. Freaking rock. Okay. All right. So, let's see, what else can we do here? We've got the greeting, display player scores, get the computer choice. It goes into here. And then here, we're going to get the player choice. So, what we can do then is we'll create another function to do that. So public static void get player choice. And we'll copy this stuff into here. Now we're going to want to change that void to an int. And then here we will replace this with get player choice. Now you'll see here, if you remember, we had to decrement this because if you remember, you could choose 1, 2, or 3, and what we need is the actual indexes of 0, 1, or 2. So we're minusing 1 here. So now we get player choice, and that goes into player choice. That looks great. Now, here's one of the benefits of functions is now we can kind of hide the implementation of this win table. We can just create a function that will represent us using the win table. So this is going to need to return an int, and we're going to call it win table result, and it's going to take in player 1 and player 2. So then what we do is we just have to replace each of these with our win table result and pass in player choice and computer choice. And then we just copy and paste them over each of the win tables. So now in here we will just do return win table, and player 1 will be the first index, player 2 will be the second index, and there we go. That's perfect. Okay. So the next thing that we could do is, rather than having this statement here where we're adding 1 to each of these variables, we can put that in their own functions as well. All right, and then we just copy these, put them in the appropriate places. Then just replace these with draw score. Now, you notice I did something here that is not good. I named a function and a variable the same. Now, the variable has a lowercase d, and that's how I know it's a variable, whereas my functions, I give them a capital D. So that's a good practice to have, but it's not a good practice to give them the same names. So that'll be something to fix. There. Okay. Now, the benefits of doing all of this stuff is now we can go into these functions and we know exactly what the functions are supposed to do. And we can make some improvements to our code. First of all, before we go, let's run this and see if we get any errors. Okay, 2. I lost. Play again. Yeah. 3. It's a draw. Would you like to play again? Yes. Oh, it's a draw again. All right. So everything's still working, which is fantastic. We've got our main method here. So again, here's the benefit. Before, we had a big line of code that I had to scroll up and down to look at. Now I have a small main method, and I know what each thing does. Greeting, display player score, get computer choice, print weapon, weapon choice, get player choice. So this makes it so that all I have to do is read the heading, and I don't have to go through and read each line of code. And this is another reason why it's really important to name your methods something that makes sense. Also, make sure that your methods do one thing and one thing only. Like, you never want to name a method something like this. Public static void get this or something else. And then it returns, like, say, a float. If you ever have the word or in your function, you're doing something wrong, because the function should just do one thing. And again, that is because you want to simplify the whole process. You want to simplify the process of what your functions do, so that when you read them, you understand what's going on. You can start to create a model in your head of what this program does. So here we know that they display a greeting. In fact, you know what? Display a greeting. Let's refactor this and call it that, because I like that name better. Refactor, rename. Display greeting. So now it changed it here, and it changed it here. So that's fantastic. So that's a really important piece of methods, is it gives you behavior that you can compartmentalize into basically, an area where it does a specific thing, so that you can manage the complexity of your code. And you can make it so that you can read a method like this and you completely understand what's going on. You see the loop, you see what's happening at each point. So that's about it. So if you like this, please go ahead and like it. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I'm going to be doing a whole lot more of these. As you can see, we're going to be covering all of this in the C# programming languages. And these are all the games that we're going to be making. We're focusing on rock, paper, scissors right now. We're eventually going to be moving rock, paper, scissors over to Unity and making a Unity-based one. But I love the fact that we are creating this console game, because I really want to just keep it simple and show you how the code works. Because when you understand how the code works, when you're in Unity, there's things that are hidden from you in a black box way. So it's important to be able to understand that ambiguity and how to work within a black box environment. So, great. Thanks for watching.